Wait, do we see ourselves on screen, or am I seeing the wrong thing? Can they hear us? I
I
am
think they.
not sure what's going on. Are we ghosts? Are we?
Uh,
Well, in spirit we are there, Jean-B. In spirit we are there. So I'm not at the, yes, there we are. We just needed a moment for that. In spirit we were always already there. Guys, welcome to the day 3 of the Summoners War European League 2025. Once again, I am here with the almighty Jean-B. Jean-B, how are you doing today?
Doing great, my man. And we are starting off another day of Summoners of European League. I think we're at day 3 or week 3, and we'll be seeing some of the contestants from the first week fighting some of the contestants in the second week. So it's gonna be a new mix of battle, and it's gonna be very, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely having that few mixture in there. People have to play other people this time around. It's also going to give more dynamics. We see a few people that we saw last week, like Joselino, which was playing very well on those passives. But also Scribble was back. That's always in Twitch especially. It's always one of those favorites to see. Like Twitch chat always goes ham when the moment Scribble comes in. But first, a quick overview of how the tournament looks like. Or are we going over there? A little bit of back and forth. Not entirely sure. Is it gonna go into the slide? It's like it's when you do this presentation. Is next slide, please. Well, about this
Nothing's
tournament for
happening.
last week, we were casting it last week, Sean B. How did you like it so far?
It's not bad. I think the great thing about the tournament is that when you see somebody lose, you know it's not exactly entirely over, especially when you're rooting for the person, because the people who didn't do really well last week could potentially do very, very well this week or the upcoming weeks, and then they will be at the playoff at the end. So I think that's what I really like, because usually in tournament the person lose and then is like, oh, bye bye, But here's not bye bye. Here's they're still here. They'll be fighting for many, many more rounds later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And normally it's also maybe there's a losers bracket, but then after that losers bracket, so it's really where it's on edge. Like, okay, after that it's definitely bye bye. In here, you still got to play the whole league through, so you still got like all of the 7 weeks, all of the 7 days that you're playing, and this is just in short the tournament overview. So we're once again during the league days we're playing best of 2s, so that could be a 1 win, 1 lose, and therefore a draw. In the playoffs that happen on the 12th and 13th of April, we're gonna do all the way best of 7. So the more matches there are to it, the less that you could maybe get like unlucky or maybe have a lucky moment, the better it is for the players itself. So that's definitely nice to see. Plus, there is a total prize pool of 10,000 euros. What do we say about that, Chambi?
There's a lot of re-app packs that they're gonna be buying very, very soon if they manage to win, which is gonna be very tough, because I think all the players in the European leagues are very, very strong in their own special way, because they own very unique LD5, and the combination can be very mind-blowing to even veteran player. They surprise us all the time with all these, whoa, what are they doing? Which is very, very cool to see. And that's how you get like an edge over the other player, because if you spam the Metacom, then they're gonna know it's coming. They're gonna know exactly what to do. But when you spam your like weird 1 or 2 LD5 that they don't exactly expect them to come out, then that's gonna be the special treat for the casters as well.
Absolutely. So this week we actually have Josu coming back, and Josu I think played in the first week. And in the first week, he actually went in with a Lucifer on Swift as an attack bar booster for the whole team, which is definitely one of those things. Like people have Lucifer as Leo counter sometimes, or in their cleave teams sometimes. Someone right next to me, I'm not entirely sure who it is, might have a Lucifer as well. But that's definitely one of those players that I was like, wow, this is really cool to see. So the players that we have today are Bespoon, ChrisPBacon, Scribble, Joselino, Josu, and TeqTeq. So definitely a very interesting lineup right there, right, Shambi?
Yeah, we got like a lot of LD cleave on the left, and we got some bruiser action from Joselino as well. So can't wait to see what they're gonna bring to the table. And I think the first round between Best Spoon and ChrisPBacon, oh boy, that's good. They could easily draft 10 LD5 in the very first match, and they still got a lot more to spare.
Absolutely, yeah. What I remember most about ChrisPBacon's draft was that Lydia. In the end, I expected it to maybe insta-kill something. It went through once, it did do a lot of damage, but couldn't like full potentially kill the whole team. But is that something that he's still going to be trying? Because overall, Lydia is not really a high-rated unit. It's not something that most Lydia owners would be like, yeah, I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to be drafting that as well. But for him, well, he tried it to get it into the draft a few times. So definitely curious to see if he's going to make that in there right there. And as you said it, both of the two players have a lot of LDs.
All right, here we go. The first match is about to start very soon. We will be skipping a bit of the introduction of these players today because we've been seeing them in the previous week before. So we're going to go straight into the action. Let's blah, blah, more gameplay, which is what we all enjoy, right? So Best Spoon and ChrisPBacon, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And for pre-bans, I think we can kind of already do a prediction of pre-bans. What do you expect to see for pre-bans?
I think when you play a lot of LDs, especially both of these players, they're gonna be pre-banning maybe the common speed lead so that they don't have to deal with it.
No
Never
speed leads
mind.
over there, but we
Oh
got
my
a Laura
God.
and a Zeratul. Two very strong units in current meta. I would say on the left, arguably one of the strongest bruisers. On the right, one of the strongest strippers. So definitely well-respected bands over there. Plus locking in, yes, there we go. Gianna, Light Gojo. We're just locking in all of them LDs.
I like that. See, I told you guys they could easily pick 5 top tier, not random, top tier LD5, and we can actually see another round of like 5 LD5. Oh, look at that. We got a yellow unit in the mix.
Yeah, look at that Sonya being like the odd one out. You sometimes have those quizzes like which one does not fit in the mix. Well, in this case, the Sonya is in there. But let's see if ChrisPBacon is like, no. We got more of those where it came from. He still has the Ragdoll, still definitely has a bunch of other units. It is technically an LD5, Sean B. It counts even though everyone has it. But the Veramos does count as an LD5.
True, Veron's gonna counter the Nephthys over there and potentially stun the other unit as well. We have another LD5 being locked in. One side we see no speed lead, and the other side we see double speed lead. So it might have to be a Sonya ban, do you think, say? Because Sonya might one-shot something over there. Oh my
But that
God.
is also the interesting one. The first one you call for the ban is the only one that is not the LD. That is not how this is supposed to work. But I do agree with you. Sonya definitely looks like the ban over there. With that Veronica being locked in last, I do think you're aiming at a Veramos ban on the other side. But let's see what these two gentlemen will do.
Oh my God, look at this. Such amazing players who keeping the game alive for all of us.
Ooh, we have the Sonya still in the game. Then the big question is, most likely Sonya will take that first turn. Is Sonya actually going to be able to kill anything? We have a match one, set one between Best Spoon and ChrisPBacon. Sonya taking that first turn. Where are you going to aim your damage? We're going to go for the Megami, and we take out that Megami.
Do you think that Lydia's gonna do exactly what you said earlier, which is to survive and do the big damage with the Yudong support?
Yeah, let's see what that Yildong support, because I would assume it would do a lot of damage, and definitely don't want to be hitting that Lydia, because the moment you hit Lydia, she takes extra damage later on, right? Or is that for her allies? I don't see that unit all too often, so I'm actually not 100% sure on it. How much damage is it going to be? Are we going to take out multiple units right away on that skill too? He's holding it off. He's waiting a little bit longer. He's letting the bar run out. And how much damage? That's a lot of damage coming in from the Lydia right there.
God, that is insane. Oh, the return fire. Oh, didn't really do much. That Lydia did exactly what you predicted, say. She was there to clean the entire enemy team after taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I would actually have to go back and double check what her passive is. It has something to do where she does more damage if either she's being hit or her allies being hit. But if you don't take it out, that is just a lot of damage rocking in. And that's a very fast win for ChrisPBacon, and a very cool one to see as well by more of an, I would say by most people, underrated LD5.
Very cool, because if I see Lydia discussion on any online discussion, it is always, how do we buff this unit? And then this guy went in, drafted it because he knew Bespin was going for some damage team, survived the damage, combined with something that boosts her damage, and boom, win the game just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it worked out so well. But then the big question is, are you going to respect it next time? Or did you think like, it just worked in that one match? In the next match, maybe it's not going to work out as well. But let's see what these two gentlemen will draft. Because ChrisPBacon, in most of his matches, he has been showing that Lydia so far.
I think it was simply because Best Moon didn't go for like a real control team. He was going for like a mix between a bit of strip and damage. I think if you go for like, look at that, that stun, I think Leader's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a lot more normal elemental units in the mix, but those are the heavy meta units that we see in the mix. Those are very strong units. Still going back to that Megami, but now we also have a Ragdoll on the side of Best Spoon. So the moment that you start doing your AoEs on that Adna or the Megami, you're going to get a lot of attack bar to the enemy team. Plus, there's two very good strippers in front of the Jongnam, which is just overall a very strong unit.
And we're still locking in 4 LD5 on the side of Best Spoon, with Jongnam being arguably as strong as many top tier LD5 in the meta as well, with very good support, damage, and just overall utility. Over there, ChrisPBacon locking the Shizuka last pick to just steal all the goodness of the Laura for herself.
Yeah, let's see. Shizuka does actually make it into the draft, so that's definitely one of those crucial units. If it takes the turn at the right moment, if it takes an additional turn or anything, it moves, it goes for the skill 3, it's very detrimental. We have Best Spoon against ChrisPBacon in match 1, set 2. Let's take it away, Zombie.
I think Ragdoll is instantly going to be super good because there's so many critters on the side of ChrisPBacon. But he got a nice stun Laura early on, but a lot of damage going on to the Ethna as well. Maybe she's gonna. Oh, she will be going down. She went down so quickly to double proc coming out from Best Spoon.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot of damage going into that Adna, and that Adna was very crucial for the main damage on the side of ChrisPBacon. He still has that Chandra that can do a decent amount of damage, but I don't think that a Megami can do that much damage itself. So let's see if he goes for the skill 3 right now, because that would also make it, if you land on the Miying will go for the passive and give healing to everyone.
And she got another proc. I think that's pretty fair because Best Spoon got double proc right there. So more damage onto the side of Best Spoon, but he doesn't really have anyone to utilize that defense break quickly enough because Laura's gonna buff defense buff here. That's gonna take away a lot of damage potential coming out from the Bacon team.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, there's 2 U over time sitting on the whole team of Best Spoon right now. So every time they take a turn, which is utilized by that Ragdoll, getting faster turns every time, utilized by that speed buff, getting faster turns every time. The moment that they take turns, they take a lot of healing rocking in there. Plus, like you said, ChrisPBacon is not having a lot of damage at this moment.
Yeah, I think he picked a lot of support setup unit without like a hard-hitting finisher. He was hoping for the Chandra to be the one doing damage, I think. But Chandra's not moving as often as he would like. And this Jongnam coming in with a stun. Another proc for Best Spoon. Might as well switch to Best Proc at this point. And that Shizuka proc is kind of useless because there's really no one to utilize a debuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a 1-to-1 on that match going very fast. I would definitely say if that Adna stayed on the field a little bit longer, if she was maybe a little bit more tanky, or that Miying didn't take that second turn, maybe she could have stayed longer on the fight. You could have had the Chandra with the hug. You could have had the Shizuka with the protection. There would have definitely been options. So the draft was definitely not that bad. But sometimes you have something in mind, and in the actual match, the game just says like, nope, not gonna work like you thought it this way around, because things just slightly shifted. Things died off earlier than you expected, and then it was a rough match in that. But then again, both players walk away with 1 point right there.
I think the biggest problem for a lot of unit, a lot of cool team, is the existence of just Ragdoll. Like, you're gonna crit a lot. Never mind, free turn for me. So I think the pre-ban had to be the Ragdoll potentially next time if he wants to use like that kind of damage and not like one shot, but I don't know how to describe his team. It had a bit of strip, a bit of stun, a bit of damage, but doesn't have the one shot, doesn't have the hard CC. It's kind of like the in-between team, and it get really shut down by just Ragdoll attack bar.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially that Adna. Adna is one of those units that I also really like to play, but then the unit that you really don't like to play into is exactly that Ragdoll. So that was very well just a read of the draft by Best Spoon, seeing that Adna in there, seeing all of the crit potentials in there. And then also that Megami was maybe, I think the Adna and the Chandra felt kind of okay in position, but the Megami is really a setup for damage coming after. But the damage coming after was a Shizuka or Chandra skill 3. And that is kind of the thing where you be like, okay, this is where the draft is, as you mentioned it, a little bit too much of everything. Going into the next match, however, we got well, I would say the master of the passives on the right side, Josu, against ChrisPBacon. So what can you say about these two players?
I'm not sure what Scribble has prepared for today because I was watching his stream earlier and he was kind of losing his mind in G1. So I hope he recover from that trauma and prepare something cool for us today, because a lot of passive means a longer game, means a lot of procs, and the mental game is going to be very important in this one.
Absolutely. Or is he gonna go for one shot then? Because he does have that Yeon Hong. He does have units like an Oberon that he could potentially utilize for one shotting. But it's always a dangerous game because we have seen it before that Vanessa was super tanky, and that Vanessa is gonna be there, and Scribble does know it. That Vanessa is going to be my issue to one shot, and very well just a read on the draft by Scribble right there, saying, okay, I do not want to deal with that Vanessa, and then I can lock in for potentially some nukers. But let's see if he goes for that very early or he locks them in like slot 4 or slot 5. First pick could be a Chandra, could be anything.
Could be a Ciara if you want to go for that one shot. And here is the Ciara coming up from Scribble. And let's see what's going to be the answer. Without the Vanessa revive, is Joselino's going to go for like a Nana setup?
Yeah, definitely a Nana was something that I was thinking of as well. Last time around, every time he had that Fire Monkey in there, he had that Vanessa in there. So those were his very crucial units. He also likes to pick Angela, Rakuni. There we have it. We once again go full passive. So ChrisPBacon, did you expect this? I would say Irene is definitely very good into those passes because you can just lock something out for 10 turns. But it is still somewhat in the middle. We have an attack buff next to it. So Scribble's kind of bruiser-ish, but also still one-shotting.
I think it's pretty good because he has a lot of option for his team. He can lock out a healer and then use the TAM with the Irene to potentially get a Dominic in there, Oberon in there with the attack buff. It's going to be a lot of one-shot damage on the side of Joselino. So he's not going to lock in a Reviver. He's going to go for something in the middle as well with a healer and some sort of a HP Bruiser unit.
Yeah, definitely an HP Bruiser unit right there in the Wind Bayek. The Sahat deals a lot of damage from just having high HP. The moment that the enemy gets dodged, you take faster attack bar. But we also have that Light Pony in there, also known as Eleanor. So if Scribble goes for some kind of one-shot in the form of just a nuking damage, that Eleanor might just say like, nope, not gonna happen. You either miss the crit or you get glanced and it doesn't work out. So Scribble also for that reason goes for more of like an all-round draft with 2 resetters. So I'm not entirely sure 2 resetters against units that have very short cooldowns because they only have skill 2 cooldown. I'm not too sure if that is the right approach, but let's see what Joselino locks in that 5th position.
I think that is a throw. Gonna be honest. I think Scribble kind of throw right there with the last 2 pick because now he has a lot of control, but low impact. No slow debuff, no attack bar gain for his own team to keep the control going for long. And the Cigar got nerfed the cooldown as well. And Joselino, as you mentioned, is a bunch of like low cooldown skill. So I think with a Sierra ban or like a Nikki ban, I think Joselino might actually will live through this very easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely agree on that Sierra ban because all of the units on Scribble's side are not really scaling that much of attack. So the Nikki is not doing that much in the favor. But let's see if Scribble can actually still win. We got a match 2, set 1 between ChrisPBacon and Joselino. Waiting a little bit for the game to start. But then we're going to go into that match right now. Shambi, take it away.
I think he gotta pray that his Sakma turn into Neftis at this point because all that AoE defense break and heal block is gonna be so important for the damage output. And Irene got her back, literally.
Yeah, Irene got that unit in the back, but we have Sahat moving, and every time Sahat moves, it's just a lot of damage. We can lock in that heal block right now. Actually, decides not to go for it right now, but I'm definitely going to be waiting where the damage is going to come from. We have that additional turn Sahat, doing a little bit of chip damage, actually giving those dots to himself in this case. We have the armor breaks rocking in on all 3 units, so that is definitely a nice setup for Nikki to do a lot of damage, but let's see if she can actually deal that much damage.
That beautiful skill to Sakma is gonna set up for the Nikki. So this is the moment where he has all his card on the table and he needs to actually perform right now. Can he do it? Oh, no proc on the side of Joselino and the damage coming out. It was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, that was definitely underwhelming. In this case, where we had the Nikki that still had 5 hits, Nikki was more often built on a crit rate or even crit damage build. But this Nikki definitely looks a lot more Bruiser style, and that is something that if someone is pretty much the king of Bruiser with all of the passives, Do you want to play their game, or should you be playing your game and just sniping these units out?
And as we can see on the field, Scribble is getting punished because he threw everything at Joselino. And I think Joselino, even though it looks like he's down on half health, I think he's feeling fine. He's good because the heal, the violent prop from all these bruiser unit, when the fire monkey is going 20 billion turns at this point because he's so fast compared to Scribble team, I think Joselino is actually the one got the game in the bag.
Yeah, absolutely. And the moment that this Angela starts rocking in a few more turns without heal block, everything is back to full HP pretty fast. So let's see if she can get those extra turns in. But also those two monkeys are still very difficult to deal with. Question is also, Joselino, where do you start focusing on right now? Because you started focusing on that Nikki, but most likely that Nikki does seem to be 100 resistance.
I think even with 100 resistance, we are talking about G3 gamers, which I mean, their monkey will probably rock at least 20-30 accuracy. So I think sooner or later, the defense spec's going to happen. And right there, that Nikki is looking like she's under a lot of pressure for the fire monkeys very, very soon.
Absolutely, we have another round of skill 2 coming in. We do have 2 heal block on the side units, but 1 heal block already removed. We still have the armor break on that wind monkey, but there's too much shield, and the units of Scribble are just not doing that much damage against those shields from Angela.
And I think the turn when Nikki has to endure double monkey hit is about to happen. Here we go. First monkey hit, second monkey hit coming in, and boom, Nikki's gone. I think that's GG.
Yeah, absolutely. And you still have to fight a Sahad, you still have to fight an Angela. There's still a lot to fight. And we were talking about the draft earlier. I really did like the first 3 units on the field of Scribble. But as we mentioned it during the draft, resetting against a lot of passives, it just doesn't really work. There's not too much to reset. Like, sure, you reset the monkey right now, or Sekhmet decides to be a real Sekhmet and not. That's also a possibility. But then you still reset just the skill too, because you can't reset the passive. And for that reason, she feels a little bit awkward in this matchup.
Pretty much. And I think if that was anyone else that is not like a bruiser specialist like Joselino, like let's say a normal player who happened to pivot the draft into like bruiser, and they don't have their monkey and their Angela just top tier rune, the Nikki from Scribble could have killed all of them. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah,
could
absolutely.
Have, but then he's fighting like a bruiser specialist who used all his top efficient rune on their bruiser unit. So pretty much the Nikki couldn't really touch them at all.
Yep, absolutely. And we have a conceit of Scribble, knowing that from this point on, he had no way of turning back. We still have one more match going in, but that first point will go to Joselino. And once again, even without that Vanessa, very well drafted, but I think it was also very much allowed to be drafted by Scribble in this case.
Yeah, I think if we were watching like a different player with a Nikki play in the mid pick, the last two were probably going to be like Dominic and some sort of ignore defense unit to potentially take out the fire monkey instantly, and then using Irene to lock out the other unit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also the draft that I think he should have went for. And also, I think that was the draft that he was first looking at, because he still has that Oberon. He does know that with a speed lead, or probably even without a speed lead, you're most likely faster than your enemy. But I think he got super scared of that light pony, the Eleanor. Because of that being on the field, he was like, oh, that unit is going to make me either miscrit or glance. And then he decided to completely go a different route, but still ban that unit in the end. So that's why you do a little bit too much to try to counter one unit, whereas the whole draft of the enemy is already countering yours. This time around, we also have the Vanessa for Joselino.
All right, so Scribble losing the Ciara is going to go in with the Water Twin Angel instead. This unit is going to be... Never mind. Thinking about it, maybe it's going to go for Oliver Yonahong potentially to try to get that turn 1 instead of the Water Twin Angel. Because I don't think Scribble has Julianne.
Nope, doesn't have a Julianne, but I think he's definitely trying... Ooh, he's actually going to once again for Bruisering, the Bruiser King. He's going to take away some of the units, but is that something that Joselino really fears? Because in the end, if you play something a lot, you know what that loses against. And these two units on the field right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Joselino starts rocking in a... another unit that's pretty hard to stun or push back. But I was more thinking about the Josephine that we might see later. But let's see if Joselino goes for that. Because once again, passives are in his repertoire and he does like to go for this. He doesn't have the Angela this time around. But then does he go for a Raccoon? No, actually goes for an early Miles.
I think I'm smelling a Raccoon coming out soon, and usually most players don't even run Raccoon at this point because they are like Gapsu, Angela, Riley. There's so many things to ruin. And Scribble, instead of locking in some healer like a Bruiser player would, he's gonna lock in a couple CC unit.
I'm actually, once again, not too sure about the Cigar, because the Cigar against a Vanessa, the passive is that short to reset, which you can actually reset, but it's not that much impact. But also, the Gojo is actually really good against Cigar, because you can simply not push it back. And Joselino actually decides to go for... He does see the opening where there's not too many strips. Well, actually, there's a good amount of strips from the Burkill, but he does like to lock in a double immunity setup right now. So definitely is slight change of the draft of Joselino, but still very bruiser heavy.
So with double immunity and Scribble having a bit of strip in every single unit, does he lock in like a heavy strip at the end? Oh, it's gonna lock in somewhat of a old bruiser counter back in the day with self-healing, but now he can't be stunned, which is actually really good into the Gojo and the mouse. So I think it's a 50-50 for this one. I'm not sure who's gonna win in this match, say.
I would have loved to see Scribble lock in a 5th Bolfric, because if he went Bolfric, it was a 100% must ban, because there's 3 units on the enemy side with a lot of buffs. So for that reason, you had more freedom in your draft, but now he has the Miying on the field. It is not that much healing that he has. He has a little bit of chip healing from the Jongnam. He has a little bit of chip healing from that Miying. But let's see what we can do in a match 2, set 2 between Scribble Bibble and Joselino. Shambi, once again, take it away.
I think the streamer spirit took away in that moment where he took the Miying, because as you can see, Bova will be very, very good here and definitely going to be a force ban. And now Scribble is stuck with a very bad position. He has no immunity, nowhere to AoE strip, nowhere to do any real threat to the side of Joselino. And on the other hand, the other side has double immunity, a lot of healing, very tanky unit. And he can choose to hit whichever target that he likes. And I think Scribble is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at a full immunity on the enemy side. We get a little bit of chip healing in, but it's going to be the big question. Can we get a setup from this skill 2 on the Jongnam? Probably will focus it towards the Light Pony, because that is a very squishy target in her human form, and he might be able to take it out. No, actually goes for the Veligil. Tries to take out the Veligil. If you can land an armor break, no, it's actually splitting the damage. So I'm not too sure where that's going to go, because a Gojo, you're definitely not going to hit hard with a monkey.
True. I'm not sure why he threw that skill 2 from the Jongnam onto a unit that he was not gonna hit anyway, and now Gojo's gonna be the target, but it won't really be much of a problem for the pony to heal the Gojo back to almost full health, and Veligil will have a bit more healing as well. And Gojo naturally is a fairly tanky unit with a defense buff and also being built tanky with a stat. And now Scribble changed the target against, according to Shay Sizzle's recommendation, to the unit that's actually easy to kill on the enemy team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm one of those owners myself, so if you have a unit, you know what it's counted, and it's actually one of those units. It's relatively low on HP the moment that it's in the human form. You focus all of your damage in there, it's actually more likely to die than you expected. And if Scribble did his first full rotation on that Light Pony, it would have definitely been that first life already. But let's see if he can kind of make a comeback. There's still the 2-turn armor break on that Burkill, and that's not looking that great. But we have seen Miying do some crazy solos in the last few days. Additional turn on that Veligil will definitely take out the Burkill right now, which also does take out the core immunity, or the core stripper for that immunity from Scribble's side. But also Miying, additional turn, taking out the Pony.
Pony going down, going back with 13,000 health in the horse form, and can potentially heal up. Oh, never mind. Maybe this is the window. Not gonna be enough to take down the horse, which means it's gonna get a bit of healing from the skill 2 and potentially the Veligil healing as well. So this is looking not very good for Scribble, because as time goes by, Vanessa Revive is going to be back, so all that work to kill the pony is going to get revived again very, very soon. Meanwhile, Scribble doesn't have a whole lot of healing to try to save the monkey in the other unit. Oh, that's a nice kill right there.
That's definitely a nice kill, but my eyes are still on that Miying. I think Miying might be one of those units that might take it back, because the Gojo is not that great into the Miying, and all of these units on the enemy side are very low in the attack stats. So for that reason, Miying will have the full passive rocking in of just damage down and damage up. But all eyes are on the Miying. If he gets stunned in an off turn where he doesn't have the passive, it's going to be bad news for it. So that's the only thing that Scribble has to be careful of, getting that stun at the wrong moment.
And with the Vanessa being on the spare, we have a whole lot of stun coming onto Scribble. So I'm not sure if this Miying is going to be enough. First stun coming out. And right now is the moment where Joselino can actually go straight for Miying and trying to get a stun from the Gojo onto the Miying right this moment.
Yeah, is he gonna go for it? He actually goes for skill 1, does steal some of those buffs, actually still managed to get the heal in there, and a very crucial stun from the Jeongnam, showing that the Jeongnam once again is very strong. So Jeongnam and Miying, even though that the targeting was kind of off early on in the match, these two units show that they're that strong, and I definitely do think that Scribble's still gonna take this one.
Unfortunately for Joselino, he did not have enough damage to kill this Jeongnam quickly enough before he can move on to the Panda, because now he has to deal with the Panda and the Jeongnam. Jeongnam being the last one standing is actually quite good against the Velodril and the Gojo, especially with a bit of proc in between.
Absolutely, and also the Gojo wasn't managing to stun that Miying at that moment. It's taking good damage though, so is it still one turn away? Ooh, that Gojo is doing some nice damage right there, but if he gets stunned, cannot deal any damage. And there's a lot of damage rocking in from these additional damage artifacts on this Miying, and Scribble takes that second match, and we once again have a 1-against-1 with a draw.
All right, we need to officially apologize for doubting Scribble in that moment right there. But Miying and Jeongnam goes to show that being very, very strong. I think I saw the win rate of these two units in particular in the top RTA unit for G3, and both Miying and Jeongnam have like 53% win rate overall, which is absurdly high for like G3 standard nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And it once again shows that Jeongnam is really good with all of those LDs. It's high damage from that skill 2. There's a lot of healing come from that skill 3. If you have that skill 3 at the right moment, there's a lot of stuns. There's a lot of attack bar going back to it. And there's a lot of healing. So there's just a whole big kit while being super tanky. And that is one of the big things in the current meta. If you still do a lot of damage while being very tanky, it's just super beneficial. And once again, Miying, it's just a powerhouse of a unit. There's so much damage rocking into the passive right now. If you cannot get it stunned at the right moment where your passive is down, then it's just like, yeah, every time you hit it, it's just going to come in with revenges, more healing over time, and just a lot of damage.
And I think it get a little bit confusing to keep track of the passive cooldown, because it is kind of short, and then you have the revenge that when he hit you, so do you want to touch him, that kind of thing. So it get a little bit very dicey to actually touch the unit with follow-up stun to actually keep it down. So very scary unit, especially in the end game where you don't have all 4 units to deal with it, and it can actually do a lot of work against you. But next up is going to be Josu and TeqTeq. So Josu is a very interesting player in this European League because he bring in some very weird snipe / cleave / whatever he's doing over there. So it is very hard to predict what he's going to bring to the table. As you mentioned, say he brought in a Swift Lucifer, which I would never dare to do because I don't have that kind of Swift rune, but he did, and it worked out pretty well for him. So let's see what he's going to bring to the table this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him play on ladder as well, and mostly the core thing that he likes to go is a silver plus a Jeongnam. It's definitely what a lot of the high rankers, like if we look at like the top 10 players right now, a lot of them that have silver do like to go for that opener silver plus Jeongnam. So on the other side, TeqTeq, I think he will also realize that and probably be banning out one of those 2 units. But the other thing is he also likes to go for the fire hacker, which is Trix, which is also once again a really good unit for Jeongnam, which was actually played with Jeongnam in last year's SWC by Lest, when Jeongnam wasn't even buffed yet. So it's definitely, Lest is one of those people that just creates metas and that we now see a lot of people play and pick up. But let's see if Josu can actually go for that. Or is he going to go for his own units that he likes to go for? Because he also likes that Kovachi. He likes the Onyuki. Well, Kovachi is a very meta unit right now. I would say Onyuki is not used that much by most people, but when paired with an attack buff, when paired on an armor break on the enemy side, it still can do a lot of damage. On the other side, we have TeqTeq. Also an interesting player right there, because he had a Violent Athena and a Violent Secret. So the Secret was mainly there, moving after the units to not have a dead turn, so no skill 1 turn on an Athena or a Sonya, which also worked very well for him. But then again, if you know that these units are on Violent, are you going to play differently?
But hey, here we go. They're gonna show you exactly what they want to do here between Josu and TeqTeq. I think Silver Jongnam is great, but when you use it too much, then maybe TeqTeq's gonna discover a way to deal with it. And he is going to deal with it by banning Kovaci, leaving Josu with the Silver first pick here potentially.
It's also an interesting thing on Silver first picking, because in the end, you're picking something. It is a speed lead. Most of the time, a speed lead is a good first pick. Actually, in this case, we go Hey Gang. But if you pick a first pick that you know your enemy doesn't have, it's not always the greatest. So I do like that Hey Gang first pick, but it does kind of already show which way you're going for the draft. So we're definitely locking in a lot of those right there. Juno is definitely looking very much in flavor right now. Same thing for a Veramos or any of those counters against a lot of debuffs.
I think that draft is very similar to the draft that Les was using in the SWC final last year with the double hacker and then Jongnam. So he's going to do a lot of chip damage with the tricks passive and just kind of scare away the enemy from doing any skill with the karma. No, is it karma from Silver?
It's the suppression that is called the debuff, but the most common thing to apply it is the karma that we know from the Ongyukis. But the debuff itself, where if you do a skill, you get half HP and you have longer cooldown, that thing is called suppression itself. But it's interesting to see that TeqTeq is not going for any of the passives, but it's actually going to go for units that are more looking into, I already want to ban a Hey Gang. But with the draft that Josu is showing in the slot 4 and slot 5, I think that TeqTeq is allowed to ban that Hey Gang and just play his own playstyle. Because right now, if you go for, let's say, a Wind Robo, if it's fast enough, I think it would do pretty good. But actually goes for that Juno in the end, and that is looking then like an Ongyuki kind of ban.
Yep, that's gonna be a false ban for the hacker and the... Oh, could be even more fun with the Vert, but I'm not too sure about that though, because we have the glancing for the Hey Gang. Maybe it's gonna ban Hey Gang, I'm not too sure. But I think one interesting thing that I want to point out is that Cigar is kind of back on the menu. He was kind of being ditched by a lot of players in the first couple of weeks after he got the nerf from the balance patch, but now people realize that nothing can really replace Cigar that well with that very unique skill 3, so it's kind of back a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting to see Cigar, Bob. Have we seen it work that well so far? That is the question. We got a match 3 set 1 between Josu and TeqTeq. Let's see, did we miss that segment at that moment? We did miss that segment at that moment.
Yeah, pretty much the female Cigar who always go first, but often disappoint the entire team. And now Cigar's going to be pushing back the entire enemy team attack bar, absolutely controlling them for many, many turns with the slow debuff. They are never recovering from this, pretty much. So TeqTeq went first, did absolutely nothing, and Josu just took a couple of turns, and now TeqTeq is down to almost dead zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And besides just the segment, even if the segment did connect, there were still a lot of skills going in from the side of Josu that could still connect and do a lot of damage. So it was interesting to see mainly the slots 3, 4, and 5 from TeqTeq not going for passives earlier. Because if you have a Juno on the field right now, or even a Veramos, those units would have done so much with those debuffs, give you a lot of turn, a lot of healing. But if you go for an Atna into a Hey Gang early, then you do already know Atna skill 3 will never really fully connect unless you're banning that Hey Gang, which I thought all his eyes were, but in the end he banned that only Yuki, so didn't really work out that well, but it did work out very well for Josu with a 1-0 victory right there.
I think when you don't pick a passive team into like a control comp, I think TeqTeq was hoping to outspeed and control the enemy team early on instead of getting control, but then he didn't ban a speed lead, which was probably the mistake that he made, because he could have banned a speed lead, survived the Onyoki that didn't have attack buff anyway. I think could have been a better play.
Yep, absolutely. But then again, it was also all eyes are on that segment. The moment she hit that 15%, it could be so bad. We also see a Hey Gang ban right there. So Josu is one of those players, either I play with it or you're not going to play with it, but I don't want to see it on your side of the field, which is definitely an interesting right there. Plus, we have the Silver being banned out as well. TeqTeq, what is your first pick of your choice?
I think another thing with Josu is that he seemed to really enjoy the tricks draft, because it's kind of Rika plus strip in a unit, but less damage overall because the passive only do 3% per debuff on the enemy health. That's why he really have to ban Heigang, because if you want to pick that fire hacker, Heigang is going to be one of the biggest counter. But Josu seems like going to switch to a snipe with a Kovaci pick right here.
Yep, absolutely. Now the question is, TeqTeq, are you going to contest that in speed? He's actually going to contest that in speed, but we have seen those before on a violent build. So if they're on violent, these two units are definitely not going to be outspeeding that Kovaci that we see on the left side. Once again, like you mentioned it, Fire Hacker going in there because there's no counter of a Heigang. We do see a Lima. If a Lima would be on a triple revenge kind of build, it might actually take over that turn and go right into cleansing right after. But is it going to be that kind of Lima? Because ever since Lima got hits on the skill 1, only giving 10% attack bar per crit, the triple revenge build is not as common. So a Vio revenge or Vio will is more common. But is that enough? We actually see multiple chances for revenge units on the side of TeqTeq right now.
But I think rely on revenge is kind of a sus move at this point. And Josu still have another slot to counter the potential revenge coming from the enemy. He's going to lock in the segment to potentially provide another round of AoE defense break, or going in for the reset on the Lima, taking away the cleanse. But if Josu lose the Yoki in the draft, I'm not sure if he has enough damage against TeqTeq though.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. And that's also, as you mentioned it, the ban right there. On the other side, we have the ban on that vert for the pacing. So we have a match 3, set 2 between Josu and TeqTeq. Let's see who can take that first turn. It's going to be the Vio units. It's going to be the Swift units.
Swift unit number 1 going in. Land the thing. Oh, it is on the real revenge build. Lima right there. I think it's a pretty solid build to kind of disturb the enemy, but she didn't get a chance to do anything important. And now Josu's gonna start putting on debuff, but because the damage from the Tricks passive is not exactly very crazy with only 2 or 3 debuff, I'm not sure Josu's making the right move here, but TeqTeq is gonna be the one now doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, let's see how much damage is going to come in. There's still that slow on that Atna, so the Atna is not going to be moving anytime soon, even with this attack buff or this attack bar boost coming in. But we have the Lima actually cycling a lot of turns, already getting her skill back, and also did manage to kill the first unit already. However, there's still a lot of debuffs on the side of TeqTeq, so everything that will take a turn will take a little bit of that chip damage.
And the first one to lose a unit for good is going to be Josu losing the segment. But I think Kovaci's skill 2 is still here, and maybe that's going to allow the Fire Hacker to do a bit of damage to finally take down the Lima in this position. But I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, I definitely doubt that's gonna happen. Is this a lot of damage? Also not a lot of damage. And where Rika is very different, Rika can kill on the dots, but a Hacker cannot kill on the dots with his passive. So maybe that Lima would have been at 1 HP at that moment, but you can't overtake it by actually dealing that final blow. And that is where the Tricks is a little bit weaker than a Rika in that position. However, still have that strip, and he needed that strip early on. But in this case, we have the Lima on the triple revenge working out very well, cycling her turns back that way.
And together with a team up from the what do you call that thing? The
secret.
The dark thing.
the dark thingy.
To give her cooldown reduction that came in clutch as well. I think in like 1 or 2 turns, the Lima had the skill 3 back immediately, and that was such a huge threat for Josu because he relied on the debuff and rely on Lima not doing the Lima thing. But Lima did the Lima thing, so Josu couldn't keep the debuff on, and he lost all his damage potential, and now he's gonna go down slowly to the enemy damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, like you mentioned in the draft as well, with that segment being locked in, Josu lost a lot of damage in the draft. A lot of these drafts, especially if you don't have too much healing in there, you want to have 2 damage dealers in there so the final one cannot be banned out. Happened in this case, and therefore you have once again a 1-to-1 with a victory to TeqTeq, meaning that this is also a draw. So we have 3 draws back to back right now. Kind of feels like a repeat of the first week that we had, where we started off the days with just all full on draw. So interesting to see right there.
I think everyone's kind of testing one another to see what the enemy are playing. So potentially we're going to be seeing some 2-0 in the later matches, but now it's going to be a lot of draw. And we're moving on to, I think, a different match this time around, because I think we have 6 players today, right? So
Yep.
all of them have played so far. So we're gonna see Best Spoon fighting someone else after this. So hey, some new LD5 is gonna come back to the draft potentially. We've been seeing a lot of elemental unit. So maybe we need to see that 5 LD5 draft once again to like cleanse the palette a little bit.
Yep, and I don't want to see more of that, Liddy. I want to see if it was a real thing or was it a fluke that it just worked at one time, because I think I've seen it drafted 3 times right now. It worked out very well once, but the other 2 times, I think it was on the field and it did a decent amount of damage but didn't really go anywhere. The other time, maybe it was banned out. Don't exactly remember on the 3rd time. But it's interesting to see a unit like that being utilized. So in this case, we have Best Spoon playing against, well, I would say the king of bruisers, the king of passives, Joselina. So let's see if all of those LDs do know to find their way against passives. If we're talking about good passive counters, what a lot of people like to talk about, Oblivion. But most of the Oblivion units, we talked about it last week, at the Sarion, they don't really cut it. But might there be a Dark Gojo in the box of Best Spoon to actually deal with it? Because Dark Gojo AoE Oblivion might actually make it work. So that is definitely a unit. If Best Spoon does find it in his box, if he does have it right there, he might just have it pre-banned right away.
And I think we're going to a break very, very soon here. Thank you so much, guys, for watching the first 3 matches. There's so much more coming up next. So, hey, don't go anywhere too far. Grab a drink, and we'll be right back with you very, very soon.
Yep, absolutely. Don't go anywhere. We got 6 more amazing matches, and I hope to see you soon. And we are back for some more Summoners War European League 2025 Day 3 or Week 3. Shelby, how are you liking these matches so far?
Not bad, not bad. We started off with a very, very premium LD match, and that was very fun to see, especially with the Lydia cleaving everybody else. And we're leaning into some more meta stuff, but we still get to see things like Miying, Berghio, Sigrid, Lima, Kovaci, Silver, Yoki. There's just so many other LD5 that are also on display, and it's just a very unpredictable environment in these matches. So I can see more of that.
Yep, absolutely, and I definitely do think we see more of those because all of those units that you just mentioned are pretty much the key and favorite units of those players that we have here today. So it's definitely those comfortable picks that you do see time and time again. Question is, pre-ban though might take out one, but nowadays a lot of these players have more than just one LD. Back in the days, it was like, oh, a player has one Gianna or the player has one Ragdoll, and it's going to be bad most of the time. But in this case, a lot of these people have multiple very good units to be banning out. One of those players is, of course, Bespoon, with having a lot of LDs and actually having to face off against Joselino, which has a lot of bruiser potential. So it's actually not drafting that many LDs, but it's definitely drafting a lot of Vanessa, Angela, and then Monkey. So how do you deal with those while having a lot of LDs under your belt?
I think Bespoon might be cleaving with some LD cleave potentially, or just hard control against Joselino, especially if he owned one of those AoE Oblivion unit, which is going to be a key against Joselino draft, and it's going to be a great force ban as well, because I think single target Oblivion is just not good enough in RTA at the moment, because if you're fighting passive, you're fighting 5 passive all the time, and maybe 2 of them can cleanse that passive. Cleanse the Oblivion. So it's just a very, very tricky game if you run a Thesaurian, but you have to run like an AoE Oblivion unit against the people like Joselino.
Yep, absolutely. And like you mentioned it, there's that Draconi, there's that Angela. Those units definitely take care of it. But the big question is, Vanessa pre-ban? No, actually a Wind Monkey pre-ban. That is something I think I haven't seen as pre-ban yet. It is definitely a very strong unit at the moment. And Bespoon doesn't want to be dealing with every time that I AoE, one of my units gets stunned, and then you have an AoE stun at some point by that Wind Monkey. So, and he definitely does like his AoE units in that light Gojo.
All right, we got a speed lead for Bespoon. He is probably one of the more underrated LD5 in the general population because he doesn't seem too strong. But I think for the high rank player, especially the LD player, he is, I think, is he the only LD5 with speed lead and strip at the moment?
I would say so, but his win rate is actually rocking around like 53 or 54 in G3 as well. So it's definitely one of those very strong units. But like you mentioned, it is even better when you pair it with some of those LDs right there. Sienna, I actually haven't seen that from Bespoon. But then again, you can also just simply pair that up with a Jungnam. A light Goju Jungnam combination is very strong. Joselino actually once again finding his comfortable units in that Vanessa, in that light pony, in a monkey. All of those units we have seen multiple times from Joselino. So let's see if Bespoon can actually deal with those.
But I think Bespoon team is going to be absolutely incredible. He got AoE defense break, AoE strip, AoE pushback, and potentially very solid single target damage with the Beast Rider skill 2 as well. And even the follow-up damage from the Gojo skill 3. And we have more debuff coming out from Bespoon. And there is that AoE Oblivion unit from the unit that is Dark Gojo, but Summoners War version.
Yep, it's interesting to see though. I think that Bespoon did do his homework and he checked how many will runes was there on the side of Joselino, because he's only gonna go in with one stripper, that light Gojo. So if there are more will runes on the side of Joselino than Bespoon expects, it might be pretty bad from that on. But if those will runes are there, I think that Bespoon is looking at a very strong draft right there.
I think that's looking like a Dark Gojo ban for sure. And Bespoon's gonna be able to lock in the AoE defense break, pushback, and control from the other unit because Joselino is not picking any immunity. So even if you ban out a stripper, you get Bespoon can just kind of wait out the turn 1 and Oblivion after that. So you kind of have to ban the Oblivion unit. So Joselino is gonna have a very tough time trying to survive Bespoon Exodia LD control combo.
Yep, that's definitely some very nice LDs right there. And let's see how they all work together in a match for set 1 between Bespoon and I for some reason zoned out, and I can't see the other name at the moment because we're currently seeing this. We're waiting a little bit right there on the beautiful Juno picture. Can we just appreciate the art for a second, because it's taking a little bit longer, but I just want to appreciate the art. It looks amazing.
All right, we need to focus on the gameplay here. Say for gameplay.
Joselino,
okay?
there we have gameplay, but as mentioned, not too many will runes right there. But the only one that it was supposedly stripping actually did not strip right there. We got the Lipola Queen coming in, a lot of debuffs already. Let's see how much this Sienna can work with all of those debuffs.
And he is definitely going to be happy that Vanessa was actually kind of fast to outspeed the other two AoE debuff follow-up unit. And we have Silence going out. We have big damage trying to kill the Juno immediately. And Juno is going to go down to the Beast Riders. And with the Silence on the Vanessa, there was no revive. And voila, cool time down and say hello to the Beast Riders once again. Boom, boom, locking in even more damage on the Monkey. Joselino could not take a single turn after the Vanessa, and he is getting absolutely dominated right now by Bespoon.
Yeah, absolutely. And also very well played by Bespoon for going first for that Sienna skill 2, because the Sienna skill 2, for every debuff that you hit, you get 25% attack bar. So doing that second skill first made it where you did not need an additional turn to go for that skill 3. You instantly get full attack bar to actually hit again on that skill 3. So rotating with that was very well played by Bespoon right there. And it did also show that this is the way to deal with all of those passives. You only have to bring one stripper. In the end, that one stripper didn't even do his job. But you do know everything is off will, and then you can just AoE CC cleave from there.
I think the closest thing that audience who are watching at home right now that can replicate Bespoon experience is to run something like a Beth and a Tomoe, who can also do AoE defense break and pushback. Just not as cool as premium and as big damage as Bespoon, but you can also do something similar with that kind of combination. On the other hand, I think Joselino could have banned the Beast Riders because Bespoon team only had one real attack by pushback unit, which is the Beast Riders. So for a Bruiser player, proccing out of Oblivion is a classic move that Joselino could have relied on, but he chose to ban the obvious Dark Gojo instead.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. But then again, you can also give back the skills to the Dark Gojo pretty fast with that Light Polar Queen in there. So it's a little bit back and forth. This time around, Bespoon is trying a very different approach. So this is what we have seen before. We're going to Bruiser the Bruisers. However, we do Bruiser the Bruiser with a lot of LDs.
He could actually pick 10 different LD5 and still form a two very cohesive and amazing team, but he chose to go with a segment instead of a Laura. Who would have thought Laura was not as important as segment in this draft?
Yeah, definitely an interesting one right there, but I'm once again not really sure about the segment right here. It's the same thing that Scribble brought before. It's like you're trying to reset, but what are you actually going to reset? Well, now there's that Molong to reset, but that wasn't on the field before. So also a little bit of an interesting style of Joselino going for a Molong in this case.
And last week for Bespoon is going to be a bit of an off-meta LD5 Gianna getting picked up last year for some strip stun and a bit of bomb damage as well, say.
Well, I wouldn't call Gianna off meta. I do think that she's definitely still very much in the meta. She's very strong. Sure, she got that little bit of down tuning of her skill 3 activation when there's no buffs to strip, but it's still a very strong unit, and I think it's a very strong pick in this moment, which might be the must ban in this case.
All right, Gianna getting banned. Bova getting banned out. Joselino lost the healer and also the counterplay to the Pony, and with a speed lead from the Vanessa, he probably have to go first, and that's gonna give Viva Chow a free snipe potentially.
Absolutely, we got a match 4, a set 2 against Bespoon against Joselino. Once again, we're appreciating the art, but in this time, we're appreciating the art of the Demon Slayer collab. Also, once again, looks amazing. Let's go into the match. Shambi, take it away.
All right, segment going first with the strip, going straight for the Molong, taking away the Molong snipe, and now Joselino has to go. There's no other way around us, and that's gonna leave some of his unit in very low attack position, and that is prime snipe condition for Viva on a slow. Never mind.
Ooh,
Never mind.
Really interesting one. Also for the turn rotation, the Viva Chow was supposed to move in front of the Light Pony, but since there is a Despair stun from that Vanessa, he could have decided to go for the silence on the pony instead, which is definitely an interesting one. Pony in return is like, no, I headbutt you and I give you a stun.
That was a beautiful stun coming out from the Vanessa, and now there's nothing that Best Spoon can do. He's actually going to lose the Viva very soon here to the Gojo damage and potentially the Molong damage. So another stun coming out from the Gojo.
Yeah, Gojo is definitely making his worthwhile on the stuns. Normally it's on despair, so it can get extra stun rate in there, but is this Molong enough damage? Not enough damage, takes the additional turn, and this is where Viva Chell might take off. Personally, I would go for the healing over here, so then you have the double healing coming in, and you can always do that skill 3 of Viva Chell at a later moment.
And now, suddenly, with one's Violent Proud, Best Spoon is back in a very decent position with Viva being protected. And he has a lot of buff, so Gojo can't simply just take all of them away. And that's going to allow Viva to maybe get a snipe in soon on maybe a Molong, for example.
Yep, all eyes are now on that Zahat. That Zahat still does do a lot of damage. It doesn't really care too much if there's immunity for the passive to still hit hard. Sure, you would like to land those dots to do a little bit of extra chip damage, but the passive still makes it where he does do a decent amount of damage. However, this Molong seems to be on a damage on X element, probably wind or something, so it's not too much of additional damage artifacts. Otherwise, he might have already taken out that Viva Chell.
A beautiful stun for the horse, a switch in between, and Molong's gonna be the target. Molong now on very low health, very easy kill potentially for anyone on the side of Best Spoon, but he's gonna wait it out and trying to kill the Reviver first before he's gonna deal with the Molong.
And once again, I want to appreciate that Miying damage. There's just so much damage rocking in from that unit. It has that self-providing defense break. There's a lot of damage. You don't even need that attack buff. We have stuns being traded out, but that Miying just simply says, like, me being stunned? Nope, that is a buff for me.
And beautiful healing for the Viva. Viva, after turn 1 being bullied by Joselino, now Viva is still in the field doing a lot of support for the team. And meanwhile, Molong could not do anything the entire time, going down very, very soon here. And there's nothing that Joselino can do in this position. He has no healing. He can't kill anyone quick enough. And this Miying is one of the best units in the late game to deal with whatever Joselino is doing. It's just gonna be impossible to come back.
Absolutely. But also besides that, that Light Pony was very consistent on those stuns. Normally, I think the rate is about 50%. I'm not 100% sure. But it looked very consistent against that Zahat. And the Zahat was the main damage dealer to actually give a threat to the side of Best Spoon. But in the end, 2-0 for Best Spoon, and very well played over there. It did work out very well. And yeah, Miying, once again, it showed that he's very strong in current meta.
And I think that switch from Laura to Segment was beautiful because maybe he felt the Molong was coming, the Molong Bulwark was coming, because if he picked Laura, he could have been sniped by Molong Bulwark. But because he switched to the Segment, he could reset the Molong and keep Molong useless for a very long time, the entire game. And the Molong have skill 2, use skill 2. Miying's like, free heal for me. I don't care about that. So I think that was a very good switch, even though we didn't get to see 10 LD5. We got to settle with 9, but it was a very good play from Best Spoon right there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it was also interesting to see Joselino lock in that Molong, because normally he likes to draft all of those passives, and passives are great into resetters. It's really great into the Segment meta, the Cigar, not that much meta, but Olivers, those kind of things. It's really good into those. But then to see already, or have already seeing a Segment on the field and be like, nah, I'm still gonna lock in that Molong is a little bit strange, because Best Spoon has a lot of good 5th picks because he has that many LDs. In this case, the Gianna came up, and that was absolutely a must ban right there, which does mean that that Molong pretty much was a sitting duck all match long. He just did a bunch of skill 1s, but didn't do much more than 1k per hit.
But anyway, that was Best Spoon and Joselino. We're going to go into Scribble and TeqTeq. So let's see if Scribble can actually take a 2-0 against TeqTeq here to regain his lead, because I think he was one of the highest ranking player in the leaderboard before today. After today, I'm not too sure anymore, Scribble.
Well, I think Scribble and TeqTeq are probably on the same spot. I don't know that out of the top of my head, but I think both of them were on 4 points before going into today. And both of them got a 1-1 previous. So they're both on 5 points at this moment, I do think. Could be wrong on that. But let's see who of those two will actually get away further than the enemy in this matchup with Scribble, Bibble, and TeqTeq. Let's see what we have for pre-match.
All right, we might be seeing some sort of secret Berg Heel, secret Yonhong pre-ban. No, it's gonna be Heigang and Water Twin Angel pre-ban. So both players get to keep their favorite LD5 and core picks. And let's see what TeqTeq's gonna go first.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see a Heigang and Twin Angels. Well, Twin Angels is definitely something that Scribble's picking a lot first, but Heigang is probably just something that Scribble doesn't like to play against. We're once again gonna go for a Sierra segment. On the other side, we already have that Chandra being locked in.
All right, China locking in, which means we might be seeing Secret and Ethna leading into a Lima as well. Low cooldown, high impact unit is, I think, TeqTeq's specialty. Scribble, on the other hand, locking in the high base speed, which means he's probably gonna go for like a Berg heal into potentially Yonhong Dark Robo to control the enemy team.
Yep, and there we have it. We got the Athena and the Sigrid once again. Scribble, what did you prepare against those? Because those matches are definitely something you can prepare against, because what TeqTeq is showing right now in those first three is something you can expect from TeqTeq. So, Scribble, do you have anything specific against that? And Akroma is definitely not too bad into it. However, Akroma is not that strong. Ooh, there we have the Yeonhong coming back, and we got once again back to that Cigar.
I think because TeqTeq didn't lock in any fire early on, I think Cigar is an okay choice. With the 2 order single target strip, he seemed like he can control the entire enemy team. But TeqTeq's gonna lock in the Marsha to deal with this no water situation coming out from Scribble. And I think he could also go for another fire unit in the last pick here.
It's absolutely an option, but what I'm also looking at, Veligil, definitely a good one, definitely like that in that position. However, it's placed against 2 resetters, so it's definitely the question of what is that last pick from Scribble going to be, because in the end, the units on the side of Scribble are faster by the swift ones, but the ones that are on violent are definitely going to be outsped by that Athena. So can you control enough units? Can you boost enough units? Because in the end, it might be if the Yeonhong is banned, only the segment would take the first turn. But then again, you're also kind of looking for a speed lead right now. What I would really like right now is a speed lead. Tomoe or Chiwu were my thoughts of choice.
Oh, against a full will team, I'm not sure without AoE strip, Scribble is gonna be able to lock it in. But I think Tomoe's great. Tomoe's fun. Tomoe's exciting, especially when you can even ban a Chandra out. And Tomoe's gonna be at full potential, controlling the enemy team with a lot of debuff.
Well, the thing is, if you ban the Chandra, most of the time Amasha's off will, and you have a lot of single target strips. So I think that Scribble might be very good with that Tomoe in there. But there is, of course, the big question: are your units going to connect? We're going to see that in match 5, set 1 of Scribble Bibble against TeqTeq. Stromby, take it away.
Here we go, guys. First turn belong to the Yonhong, giving the Tomoe the first turn for the single target strip, and that is going to be on to the Marsha. Yonhong with another single target strip. Miss the Ethna. Very, very crucial right there, but Tomoe has another single target strip here, and miss the Ethna as well. I think Scribble is punching air right now, say.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want to see. It's also interesting to see a Masha on Will Runes. That's definitely seeing that TeqTeq is preparing for turn 2 in general. But connecting nothing on that Athena is very crucial for TeqTeq right now, and it's very bad. It used to be on Violent. I'm pretty sure it was on Violent. It did not manage to land any armor breaks, but it managed to stun 2 units.
Hey, he's switching it up, man. He's showing that he can be very flexible as well. And now this Ethna surprised the enemy with the resist and the beautiful despair. Stun, big damage. Trying to stun the Tomoe right there. Could not get a stun. But I think this Sierra is going to potentially go down to the secret, because I saw the secret damage in the previous game and it was really good. And Sierra's going to go down looking really bad for Scribble.
Yeah, absolutely looking bad for Scribble, and that's what we said when we went to this match. These drafts are very much depending on can you connect your skills, and actually manage to land a double stun on the 2 units that are Moby. Maybe it could be an interesting one to get a comeback from here, but maybe it's a little bit too late. If that Tomoe performed like that just a little bit earlier on, I think Scribble had a very fine draft over there, but it just simply sometimes does not really work out as planned.
And it was way too late indeed. Unit going down left, right, center, and there's nothing Scribble can do. Cigar, after popping the skill 3, is rather useless for a long time, and he could not keep anyone under control, instead being controlled by the enemy team. He's now going to try to bring down another unit, but without any healers, and Marsha getting another violent proc. I think it is in the bag for TeqTeq.
Yep, definitely looks in the bag right there. Cigar's not one of those units with a 1% HP that he's like, I'm gonna solo this. It's not a Douglas. It's not a Minato that could maybe do that. So therefore, we have that victory going to TeqTeq. But once again, I would say Scribble's draft didn't look that bad. If he connected his skills, he might have had like a fair match in that one. But once again, you don't always have things going your way, and that is something you also do have to prepare for. If you have a match or a draft where you have to connect everything to win, you're still looking at a pretty big chance that you might not, because in the end, that 15% is lurking around every corner.
And now he got to think about that going into the next game. So that's going to be a lot on Scribble mind. Let's see what's going to be the pre-ban. Is he going to take away one of the core pick of the enemy team? And that's going to be the double speed lead ban from TeqTeq and Scribble. No more Chandra, no more Ciara. First pick of Scribble. Is he going to go for the Oliver first pick?
Well, the interesting thing is right now, I think if you go for a Vanessa first pick, I think all of the speed leads or that TeqTeq would ever draft are off the field. So I'm not sure if he normally goes into Vanessa. I don't think he normally uses Twin Angels. And I don't think he uses that much Oliver, so that could have maybe been a way to take away all of the options for Speed A. But once again, I think Scribble did re-rune this Cigar to one of his best sets, and therefore he's just simply locking it in time and time again. But so far, the Cigar hasn't been doing too well, and I'm really liking this draft on the side of TeqTeq right now.
The TeqTeq got that classic Hey Gang into AoE control. Meanwhile, Scribble also got that meta turn 1 single target strip to counter Hey Gang. So let's see which one's gonna work out too well. I think Scribble know what he's doing, but can he connect his skill once again? Because he rely on that strip reset to land on all of the enemy team. He's gonna lock in something that will reduce the need of RNG and also boost the bad RNG for the enemy team, locking in 2 units that can't be stunned and can do very, very good damage. Also, both of them getting attacked by overtime, which is very good against TeqTeq.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see what TeqTeq can find as a 5th pick, which would be very strong in all of those. I would almost say that a Douglas feels kind of in place, but then again, Douglas could lose in the late game against the Twin Angels, and there's not too many AoEs for the Douglas to just eat skills for. So TeqTeq is definitely thinking hard about what kind of unit he would like to lock in. Finds that Fire Monkey once again. Shambi, what are we having for bans?
I think Fire Monkey is a pretty solid late game option as well, which means it's probably going to be the ban. I think TeqTeq has to ban the unit that can't eat any debuff because his team rely on debuff to actually do something. So that's going to be the Monkey and the Chroma ban. First turn probably going to belong to Scribble. But once again, can Scribble connect?
Can Scribble connect? Plus, there's also that Hey Gang. So in this case, you want your Burgle to be inconsistent. Ooh, was actually trying to get Marsha in an off turn, but I'm not sure if that was the best choice as well. Because if that was the case, there would have been the pushback on that Sekhmet. Sekhmet wouldn't have been taking a turn. So right now, Sekhmet does actually connect right here. You can also make your Cigar move to connect as well. But in this case, you can see the strength of a Marsha being on Will rather than on Nemesis.
And he's gonna go straight for the Marsha. Marsha's gonna regain the immunity. Meanwhile, he's giving Hey Gang and Nephthys a very good shot, landing all the debuff that they need. Marsha proc back to the skill 2, ready to go, looking very bad for Scribble because Marsha is gonna get some extra bonus speed from the bit of attack power decrease from the Cigar earlier. So she's gonna actually outpace the enemy team. With the silence, there's nothing that Scribble can do to save the Cigar or the Sekhmet from the Marsha damage.
Plus, that Marsha has the same skill too as that Sienna that we talked about earlier. If you're landing on multiple debuffs, did get an additional turn in the end, but it was already back to 75% attack bar, so did not really need that additional turn. But once again, that 25%, it is always welcome. Plus, TeqTeq was already sitting in the driver's seat in this match.
I think the problem with Scribble team was that he had a lot of single target strip, but he didn't have like a hard lockdown like a Nephthys AoE at the end right there. He was able to control 2 units, but then the other 2 units from TeqTeq was also very impactful with the AoE debuff. And Marsha back-to-back pro also kind of helped a little bit with sniping out and taking away a lot of health from Scribble unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, if all of your units are on Will, like the moment that one unit is off Will, Cigar feels so much stronger because in the end, the provoke can still land or the pushback can still land on that unit that is off Will. And even in the case of Marsha, landing one of the 2 is probable to happen. However, if the Marsha is willed, then Scribble decided like, okay, I have to reset that Marsha in this case. But was it maybe the Nephthys that was the real issue?
Another unit being eaten by the Marsha. Unfortunate. It's just very hard to control this unit with whatever Scribble is having on the field, and also the Marsha plus the Hagen combination. If you dare to strip the Marsha with a bit of debuff, that's just a lot of free attack bar. And this unit enjoys some nice free attack bar to get her turn so that she can absolutely demolish your entire team on her own.
Absolutely. We do see a little bit of a comeback of Scribble, but the moment that the Masha just goes off, get the skill back, it is just too much work. It's pretty much just Masha taking out all of these units one by one while still being semi-lively, about 40% HP in there, but then there's still that second form which you also have to fight through. So once again, also showing that a Hagen in combination with that Masha just gets Masha so well protected because the immunity is there every time. The Hagen says every time that it's stripped, I just give a little bit of bar. If it's stripped and debuff lands, it's a lot of attack bar, it's cleansed. It's very nice combination right there, and works a very nice for TeqTeq in this position to get potential 2-0 victory.
All right, the Water 2 Angels trying to stay alive, but it is just impossible. TeqTeq is gonna take this 2-0 and swing the leaderboard into his favor.
Yep, absolutely. Very well played by TeqTeq. And it does also show the strength of having everything on will. The moment that you have one unit off will, you're immediately susceptible to a lot of those more AoE-prone units like the Tomoe was able to do, or that Cigar was able to do. In the case that there's one unit off will, you only need to single target strip 2 things or maybe 3 things, and you're totally fine. But if all 4 of the units are will, it becomes a lot more deadly and a lot harder to do. And I think that it was very well played by TeqTeq, knowing his units are on will, knowing what he was up against, and Scribble trying to have the second round, trying to do the same thing, but we saw it just doesn't work out that well.
Yeah, it was rough. I think that's why we saw why he wanted to ban the Hagang, because the Hagang is just such a pain in a Scribble plan that he could not really do much, because the moment he stripped debuff, oh, attack bar here, attack bar there, attack bar everywhere, he could not keep control of all of that. And plus the Marsha, which is so much trouble for Scribble. You managed to reset it once, 1 or 2 violent proc. After that, skills back online, and then it just eat everybody in the side Scribble team.
Yep, absolutely. However, we have that next match coming up. We got Josu against ChrisPBacon. So 2 players that definitely really like to play with their LDs in their own respective way. Josu has a few of those that you don't see too much. We haven't seen the Lucifer yet today. But ChrisPBacon is also just locking in that Lydia and all kinds of strange units that you normally don't see too much. So I definitely want to see... Well, I would like to see a very strange meta or non-meta LD matchup of like 5 non-meta LDs against one another. Don't think we're going to get that, but it would be very fun to see.
I think Josu might have to be careful of the leader, because he likes to go for some big damage, and leader is exactly the Uno reverse card for a big damage team, surviving and just clean up the entire enemy team. So I think Josu has to be very careful and maybe switch back to the Fire Hacker and Chongnam Silver angle.
Yeah, I definitely do expect those units also to be in the list of to be banned on this pre-ban. However, on the other side, for ChrisPBacon, there's also a lot of units you could ban out. Not sure how well Josu likes to play into a Ragdoll. That could be maybe an option to pre-ban. But I think ChrisPBacon also does have that Gianna. It's actually gonna go for a ban on that Dark Megami, which is an interesting one right there, because I think in the loses that ChrisPBacon had, that Megami was the setup, but then a setup for no one. So there was actually a lose potential for ChrisPBacon. So let's see how that works out as it being pre-banned.
All right, Josu locking in the Kovaci, ChrisPBacon with the Gianna and Zeratul, and oh my god, we are getting exactly what you asked for. We are locking in all the LD5 in the world, but Josu got to spoil us with the Fire Hacker and the Cigar. But I think Josu seems pretty good. We got immunity, we got strip, we got control, we got damage, we got a little bit of everything. So that is actually a solid team, even though it might look like not your common Oliver, whatever the thing you see in the ladder.
Absolutely. Also, the amount of Jongnams today is not that much, because Oliver is still the most big unit in game. Jongnam is number 3, Sekhmet is number 2. We have seen a lot of Sekhmets, but Oliver and Jongnam we actually haven't seen too much. Definitely a well pickup from ChrisPBacon on that immunity right there, because there's only one good strip on the side of Josu. However, there's also that Cigar reset potential. So Let's see if that Cigar can actually utilize that. But then again, you also have to reset that Gianna. So very interesting match over here.
Looking really tough for Josu here because he just lost his AoE stripper. He's now left with one single target strip against 4 immunity. And if he missed the Gianna, his entire immunity set is gonna all go away as well.
Yep, absolutely. But even if you land on the Gianna right now, does not connect on that Gianna. But even if you were to land on that Gianna, I don't think you would have been able to kill anything right after. You still have to fight that Validus, you still have to fight that Zeratul. There's still a lot of things to fight. So sure, it definitely helps to connect this critical error. Also in her respect, misses 2 over there. But then the big question is, Lydia, once again, she's just sitting in the back every time, in every match. She's just like, I'm just waiting for my 1 turn. And in my 1 turn, I just do the snap. And let's see how much damage we're going to go for. 50k damage. Actually, not that much damage as we have seen before.
But more than enough. And also that Gianna missing stun on Yoki was absolutely tactical on her side right there, because now he can actually kill the Yoki without worrying about the passive. And Zeratul is going to be able to destroy this Kovacic with a defense break on. So ChrisPBacon with a turn 2 team absolutely cooked Josu turn 1 right there. I think Cigar was definitely not it though. Maybe he could have went with an actual AoE stripper. That could have been more impactful than a Cigar right there.
Absolutely, and that is a 1-0 victory for ChrisPBacon. But I think from what we can tell from today, Cigar is not back in meta. We've seen a lot of Cigars today. I think Cigar is on like a 80 to 90% lose rate at the moment. It's definitely not performing as well. Sure, it did not connect the skill 3 on the Gianna in this case. But even if it were to connect, I think that just a single target strip would have not saved him from just the sheer strength of that Lydia damage, plus Zeratul damage, plus protection from that Validus. However, we do respect that Gianna for the pre-ban.
Pretty much. I think Cigar is... I think people are just trying to holding on the Cigar draft because we've been playing that for so long that we are too used to having a strip pushback reset cooldown in one simple unit that we're just so used to that. We can't let that go, but I think it's time to let it go and maybe try something else. Josu is gonna go with the same draft. Meanwhile, ChrisPBacon is also going with a very, very similar draft.
The issue for Josu right now is if you lock in strippers that are really bad into Heigang, and ChrisPBacon comes up with a very good slot 4 and slot 5 draft that you also have to pre-ban, because the draft of Josu is mainly looking like, I don't want to be playing that Heigang, but I still have to be careful of that Lydia. Whereas ChrisPBacon can still lock in a few good units right now. I'm not sure, once again, if that Megami... It is a nice setup for that... Lydia once again, but I'm not too sure if that is the right call on the side of ChrisPBacon. Let's see if Josu can find maybe something like a Sonya, snipe something out on turn 1.
I think he's really trying to snipe the enemy team quickly with the Megami, especially with the Chandra and also the Yudong. They can do very good damage with the Megami defense break. Josu, on the other hand, trying to minimize the impact defense break, but that's gonna go away, and the Lydia is gonna go away as well. So ChrisPBacon will have the other 2 HP bruiser damage, which can still be very, very good with the defense break from the Megami.
But the big question is, you still have the reset. Once again, did not really connect as we would like to see. But there's also a big question. Can the Megami actually set up to have the other 2 units do enough damage? Because sure, Uldong can do a decent amount of damage, but would that have been enough in the first place?
But anyway, Megumi is almost going to die, and now it's going to be protected by the Chandra. That was barely not enough damage for Josu. He could have finished off the Megami, but now he has to kind of deal with it, with providing defense break and attack break onto the team. Especially, it's going to be very impactful on a unit like the Yoki. Oh my god, that stun, that strip, another stun. Wait, that might be a bad stun though, say.
Yeah, that might be a very crucial stun right there. And I was gonna say, for a turn 1 rotation, I definitely don't think that Ulding would have been able to kill anything. But towards a more of a bruiser fight that we're having right now, and the Megami actually connecting his skill 3 at a later moment, it might actually be that all the cards just fall in place where it's very good. We do have this Ongyuki taking a turn, but it's attack broken and glance. So glancing in the end, yeah, sure, Ongyuki doesn't crit, but glancing still has damage reduction. Ongyuki with the additional turn takes out a lot of damage from there and once again gets stunned. So once again, cannot be killed, but the Chandra is killing a lot of other units right there.
The damage from these HP Bruiser being amplified with Yudong passive is nothing that we should underestimate. But that Onyoki being stunned is also a very big problem. The Chandra was working a little bit too overtime right there on the Onyoki. And right now, can he take this thing head on? One unit down. Onyoki could potentially be stunned again, say, because oh my god, another bad stun on Yoki. Back on his feet very, very soon with boosted damage. He might solo these two units, say.
Absolutely, and the big question is also, like, both units have a stun skill 1. Onyoki not doing that much damage. Is the Chandra on Despair? Is not landing a stun right now. Can you kill it? Ooh, actually does take it out. The Onyoki was so close, but yet not close enough. And we have a double victory for ChrisPBacon, taking 2 points.
So I think Lydia win rate is still 100%.
Today, yes. Today for sure. That's 100% in my books. Or did she lose one match? No, there was a 1-1 from ChrisPBacon in that first round, but I'm not sure if that was a Lydia match, however. But definitely interesting to see that the Lydia, maybe it's the Uldong that just makes her so much more powerful. It's also the Megami that's just very interesting, but also it got an interesting rotation at the right moment. Sure, once again, Sigma did not really connect. It's one of those units. Either it works and it's like one of the best things out there, or it doesn't connect and it's like, yeah, why did I draft this thing again? And that is something that we all know about Segment. But still, we love that unit and we keep drafting it.
And now I think we'll be moving on to our first code of the day very, very soon here. And also another break before we go into the amazing final 3 matches. Because, hey, I can't wait to see that Lydia once again, man. That was really, really cool. And we need to see the other player who did not win in this sort of round. So we have Scribble, who did not win. We have Josu, who did not win. And they have the last chance today to kind of get some points back, because when you lose 2-0 you get absolutely nothing, so your ranking on the leaderboard is going to start dipping very, very quickly. So can Scribble and Josu kind of bring it back up a little bit in the last 2 matches here?
Yep, absolutely. And by looking at these brackets that we have today, plus looking at what we had in previous week, I think that the points are very close to one another, because there's no one just winning everything. And the ones that were winning very good in the week 1 and week 2 are actually losing a little bit more right now. So I think the points are pretty evening out, and that's very interesting to see. So it might be very exciting all the way to the end of the league. However, we also have something for you, as the code also suggests, 100 energy and once again a mystical scroll. But this is not going to be the last one of today. I can tell you that much already.
All right, key in the code right now. If you're on Android, then you can go into the game guide event section to find where you can key in the code. If you're on iOS, I think there's going to be a link in the chat if you're watching on Twitch, so you can use the link to get yourself a cup of free energy and a free scroll to get your Jongnam, aka me. I need that Jongnam.
I think everyone needs that Jongrong right now. It's rocking that 53% win rate. Actually, strangely enough, we haven't seen too many Jongnams today. Maybe people over here were too used to the Jongnam. Maybe everyone was preparing that cigar against the Jongnam, because we have seen a lot of cigars. However, in this case, we're going to go into that break. So make sure you lock in that code, grab a snack, grab a drink, and we see you right back. And we are back for the final 3 matches of today. Sean B, so far, what is the unit or player that stands out the most for you?
It was definitely not the Lydia that shocked the entire audience and including me. That was very fun to watch. I think he was fully expecting like these players to go in with like damage team, and then Lydia was just the perfect counter for that. I feel like he was crafting an arena defense in the middle of RTA match. Kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But even on arena defense, you don't see Lydia that much because you just know what she does. You just know, okay, either I snipe it right away or I control it or something like that. But actually, so far, no one has really been trying to snipe her right away. But it's also the thing where she has a reflect, and reflect in this game works as damage reduction. So even if you were to go in with a Sonya, would you actually be able to kill it? And if you don't kill it, that will be a lot of damage on your side. So it's definitely one of those dangerous units that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point even gets banned out. First of all, we're going to have Bespoon against TeqTeq. So we're going to have a lot of LDs against the, in this case, Despair Athena.
Yeah, Bespoon is probably one of the most scariest player in this bracket because he owns so much LD5. He get the perfect LD5 turn 2 team, the perfect LD5 control team. So if the moment he outspeed you, I think TeqTeq is going to be in a lot of trouble with that amount of control.
Absolutely. So then I would say for the outspeed potential, TeqTeq definitely does like that Hey Gang. Might be once again a Hey Gang pre-ban on the side of Bespoon towards TeqTeq. But on the other side, if you're playing against that many LDs, what do you have to pre-ban? Could be the Goji, could be the Laura, could be so many other things.
I think we can start off with a simple Laura pre-ban. It is always great to pre-ban Laura so that he doesn't outspeed you and then his entire enemy team will outspeed you with a speed buff.
Yep, that's definitely always one of those units that is very detrimental. And we also see it on the leaderboards. Laura is rocking one of the highest win rates with one of the highest pick rates that we have pretty much ever seen throughout all meta. So Laura, even after a few nerfs, still being there. But actually, no, we see the light Gojo being very well respected over here. But on the other side, as expected, Hey Gang is not on the battlefield.
I think TeqTeq doesn't want to get outsped and stripped immediately because his team is not rocking any Swift unit. And Bespoon can easily outspeed with like a Swift like Gojo, for example. But without a light Gojo, Bespoon's gonna lock in the Miying and the Eleanor to go for that turn 2 position.
Yeah, definitely showing a lot more bruiser options, but also Miying and the Eleanor are very good into Athena. So rocking in an Athena right here looks a little bit strange, but in that case, we're actually gonna go for a very different style. And this is also the first Zenitsu that we see of today.
Wow, it's like TeqTeq remember that he has auto unit in his box, dropping the Sacred Chandra Ethna, going in for the speedy strip into Zenitsu damage position, which can be very, very strong. But Bespoon with the anti-debuff unit to just straight up counter Nephthys and having a segment to counter whatever follow-up that TeqTeq is going to bring in. And let's see what TeqTeq is going to do. Because that Dark Hacker is going to be so much trouble.
Yeah, that Dark Hacker is going to be really good in this matchup, and that's also my eyes on for is going to be the ban. But then again, Bespoon still has that 5th position, so if you can lock in a good 5th pick right here, which also becomes a ban, oh, that is also looking very strong at the moment. Could maybe be a little bit more CC'd than the other units, but if you have the Devaraja in and you would ban out that Lima, it would be very strong.
Yes, because he also will have the Eleanor to increase the bad RNG for TeqTeq. And TeqTeq doesn't have cooldown increase, doesn't have attack bar reduction. So I'm not sure if he can control or kill Bespoon fast enough if he let the horse stay.
So therefore, we remove the horse and we remove the Lima. But now in this case, we have the question, what is faster, a Despair or Violent Gojo versus a Sekhmet? We're going to find it out in match 7, set 1 between Bespoon and TeqTeq. And we have the Sekhmet taking that first turn.
So I think that might be saying goodbye. Oh, it's going to be goodbye to the Gojo strip. And now TeqTeq team has to move into a full immunity position from Bespoon. And there is nothing that TeqTeq can do to take down a unit or control pretty much anything, which means the Devaraya is going to be free to do whatever it wants. And with the defense break from the Dark Hacker, it's going to be a bad news for TeqTeq.
Yeah, this is definitely very bad news. Did not connect all of the debuffs that it would like, but if the Devil Rajak connects most of the provokes right now, it's very much over. And it connects 3 out of 4 provokes, does get the additional turn, and a lot of damage coming in as well.
So, as you can see, having a swift unit to outspeed and control the enemy only stripper is a very, very classic play in the Summoners or strategy book. Because the moment you have full wheel and you somehow reset the enemy stripper, it is pretty much instantly over for TeqTeq, no matter how strong the team might look. And that's why Sekhmet is still one of the most popular turn 1 unit in the game, despite missing a little bit here and there sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. If Segment were to always land, I think Segment would probably be at like a 60% win rate. Everyone would be drafting her, everyone would be contesting her. So sometimes it's a little bit of a blessing that she doesn't always connect. But then again, it could always be very frustrating when she doesn't. But if she does do, as we saw in this match, it is pretty much instantly over because everything just took a very awkward turn. The enemy strip didn't connect or it just couldn't be activated in the first place. And then you take a lot of turns against immunity, which just don't do much for you.
And that is GG. Bestboon would take game 1 and we're moving on to game 2. And that is why you have to pick 2 AoE stripper in your team to avoid being controlled by Sekhmet like that. I think if he replaced the Sigrid with something else that can maybe provide a backup strip, that could have been a different game. But then Sigrid is just TeqTeq signature unit and he loves using it, so he has to get it in somehow.
Yep, absolutely. And it's also one of those things that if you draft it too early, then Bestboon would have probably also drafted a very different style himself as well. So I definitely did like the Bestboon style where he's like, oh, I don't have my Gojo. Let me just go full bruiser with a Miying, with a light pony, and then just work my way around there. And it actually worked out very well because the light pony was very much a must ban. We had the Nyx, which was a Nefty's must ban. So there were a lot of must bans based on what TeqTeq was showing already. In this case, Heigang is on the field and Bestbone doesn't want to fight against. Once again, goes for his bruiser route.
He's going in bruiser, but what is gonna be the Sekhmet once again, because as you saw just now, the moment Sekhmet connect the strip and reset, take away the AoE stripper, TeqTeq has no way to deal with it. So he's gonna lock in a single target strip in the form of Sharian, who's very good with team up that is coming out from the Secret.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one to see with a team up right there. Would you almost already pair more team ups with that, like a Siren? No, actually goes to more passive units with an Angela right there. But then he's very open to a Sonya because Sonya is going to be faster than that Elsharian and is definitely going to be faster than that Sigurd. So it is definitely a super strong pick right here. And Bestboon, can you lock in a very strong fifth? Maybe more of a bruiser, maybe sustain unit as well. Otherwise, you might have to bruiser it out without too much healing.
It's going to be Oliver because TeqTeq doesn't provide any fire in the draft. So Oliver is going to be potentially the only control unit needed to control the entire team of TeqTeq. And that's going to also provide a beautiful 33 lead for Sonya to secure the kill on any target over there. And the counterplay for double win is going to be one of the strongest fire unit in the game, the Fire Monkey.
Absolutely. For the bands, well, that had to be that Sonya for sure. You're not going to fight that. On the other side, fifth pick. Bestboon was already knowing, like, I'm not gonna, whatever you pick on the fifth, I'm just gonna remove it. We see it in a match 7, set 2 between Bestboon and TeqTeq. Let's take it away, Shambi.
All right, Sekhmet going in. Can she land the strip reset on the Secret? It's going to go on to the Elsharian. Missed the Elsharian, but maybe that's not too bad of a miss because right now Elsharian doesn't really have a crazy amount of damage unless it get a proc or two in between. So can this horse passive lock down the Elsharian damage? Oh my god, that was a very bad stun counter for Heigang. Of all the things he could stun, he stunned the only unit that couldn't be stunned.
Yeah, you stun the only one thing. Like, you're telling your units, like, okay, you have one job. Stun everything, but not this one. It's like, stun this one? And your unit just went straight for it. Also stealing the counter buff, so the whole team is countering right now. I'm not sure if I want to be hitting this Elsharian or this Sigurd in this state, because Elsharian is going to do a lot of damage, but Sigurd is going to armor break on those counters.
Another stun from the Hey Gang, and El Sharon's gonna take down Miying, showing him who is the real LD5. And remember, El Sharon gains speed per buff on his ally. So right now, with that amount of buff on the entire team, El Sharon is actually extremely fast compared to Best Spoon team. And losing that amount of buff is not gonna be a huge problem, because right now El Sharon's gonna be able to get another turn to do big damage into this Eleanor.
Yep, but we're looking all eyes on this. Oliver, you have to start landing those pushbacks. Actually does land the pushback, but does not connect the reset. If you don't connect the reset, you're gonna have an off turn where Oliver has to land a skill 1, or just has to go for skill 1 because the skill 3 is not available, which we will see in just a second, and that might be very bad. If you want to try to control this Elsharian, and he's like, I'm not having any more of this revenge from this Elsharian, it's just not working out. And this Elsharian actually showed that he was very strong into the matchup of that light pony. So if you're having issues with light pony, maybe more people should be picking up Elsharian, because it actually did work out very well in there.
That did a lot of work into the light pony. Also, stealing the counter from the Miying was very beautiful, allowing the entire team to have a bit extra damage, especially with El Sharon. The El Sharon was also on revenge. I think it was on Will Revenge, because they had Will turn 1. So being on Will Revenge, it steal more buff when they try to touch the El Sharon. So that was a very, very cool El Sharon showcase right there. And El Sharon on his own is also a very solid damage dealer, especially paired with the attack buff from the Secret.
Absolutely. Plus, it's just a speed scaler, because the same that all of the Ifrits have, skill 1 and skill 2, they're just full on speed scaling. So you can even build them a little bit more tanky. He gets a lot of speed from his passive, and then you just need the crit rate and the crit damage. And he already did pretty good damage. And the damage that he got himself was actually surviving that pretty well. Plus an Angela next to that. It worked out very well, but it's also interesting to see Sigurd on counter. That just makes the skill 1, it's like, oh yeah, there's also armor break on that one because you hit me. Just looks so nice. However, we had that match. Next match coming up, we have Scribble Bibble playing against, well, potentially the Lydia guy. We can almost call it that way. But let's see if ChrisPBacon also wants to lock in a Lydia against Scribble, because Scribble definitely works with a lot of resets. We have seen the segment coming out. We have seen the cigar coming out. And if Lydia cannot go for the skill 2, I think she's a lot worse than we have seen in previous matches.
I think Scribble is definitely going to be in trouble, because he liked playing that damage. He liked playing that turn 1. And I think the Lydia guy is very much prepared for the damage guy. So I need to Scribble to maybe switch it up a little bit, maybe go into hard control, like real control, not a bit of reset here and there and end up not really controlling anything.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the question. I think also Hey Gang might be a good pick for both of them. But the big issue is, if you try to AoE strip, ChrisPBacon does still have that Ragdoll. It might be one of those units that you want to take out in that pre-ban. But there's also a Gianna. There's a lot of units that ChrisPBacon has in his whole draft that actually enable the Lydia to shine as much as she does.
All right, let's see what it's going to be the pre-ban here between Scribble Bibble and ChrisPBacon.
Yeah, let's see. They're definitely taking their time for the pre-bans. Pre-bans are in. We have a Yeon Hong being pre-banned, and we have that Gianna taking out 2 very formidable units that we just simply not going to see in this match right now. Scribble Bibble is comfortably playing a Twin Angels as first pick. Let's see if he goes for that in this moment.
He's going to go for the Twin Angel. He's going to potentially lock in the Cigar and the Segment once again. But we saw that didn't really work out too well against the previous opponent. And ChrisPBacon is not going to let Scribble get turned on easily with the Spilly and the Ethna as well.
Yeah, once again going in for that Cigar. It's maybe once again a little bit early of Cigar. In previous meta where Cigar was at its core strength, it was definitely the right position to lock it in. Currently, I think Cigar is maybe a little bit better late, but we have ChrisPBacon locking in that Ragdoll and a Velagel.
All right, a free attack bar for ChrisPBacon and also the Velagel, but Scribble is showing ChrisPBacon that he can also play the Lydia game if he wants to do so. But is he going to lock it in, or is he going to just flash it to confuse the enemy?
I'm pretty sure he's not gonna lock it in, because sure, it will definitely kill the Ethna, but killing the other units, I'm not too sure about it. So he actually does take it away. Last second, does lock in that Acroma. And I think we're gonna get a repeat right now. ChrisPBacon is gonna flash it for a little bit and then probably also not lock it in, because I think in this whole draft, it doesn't feel as strong as it is, but Asonia definitely feels very strong in here.
Yeah, so it's gonna be crazy. But then the minus crit rate from the Akroma can also be quite a problem. But hey, we have two heavy damage team coming out. One losing the speed lead, one losing the Sonya. And I'm glad that they did not flash one another for too long because that's not what I want to see at 4 a.m. Okay, two men flashing one another.
Oh, that's one of the craziest callouts. First turn goes to that Athena. We have to connect a stun, most likely on that Cigar. That's what we're aiming for. Can we stun that Cigar instantly? Capture actually goes for the Volantis. Does manage to stand.
There's no way he stunned the Volantis right there. I've done more damage and not even getting resisted in my life. But then Scribble also returned fire with a beautiful stun onto the Velajo. And finally Cigar get to control a little bit. And I think now it's gonna be the Bruiser battle between two teams that is very, very hard to control. But I think Scribble is having a bit of a head start with two units that can't be stunned here.
Absolutely. Plus that Provoke is still connected on that Velajo, where we saw the Cigar being very much underperforming before. In this case, it did actually let all of the things, including the things on wrong element, because the Velajo did actually have the skills up at there. If it were to take an additional turn, or if it was not provoked, we would have seen Sanctuary right now, but that is a world we're not living in. We're living in a world where more is taken out by the Chroma.
Akroma locking down two target with the support of the Berg heal, giving Akroma free defense break, and these two units gaining so much attack bar in between. They have built-in Ragdoll in their passive, so I would say ChrisPBacon is fighting like 4v5 matches here.
Absolutely. Also, Velajo taking that off turn was silenced at that moment by that Akroma, so Akroma doing a lot of work right here, and Ragdoll is definitely not gonna solo 30 units from this position on.
And that is GG between Scribble and ChrisPBacon. So the light unit, the light LD5 was just straight up destroying the dark LD5 over there. Can ChrisPBacon pick a different angle to maybe go heavy turn 2 against Scribble?
It's also interesting to see where he tried to Athena skill 3 connect on the Volantis, because in the end, if you do land it on the Cigar is the core unit that will actually push back and strip at a way more consistent rate. Whereas the other unit just, it can provoke, it can stump, but the rates of that are a lot lower. So it's also interesting to see Cigar once again being back in the pre-ban.
I guess he just doesn't really want to hit that unit because Cigar is naturally very tanky, potentially have minus win. So going for the Ethna on a Cigar is kind of a sus move to trying to get a stun with such little damage going to be done. And right now we are seeing ChrisPBacon back with the Gianna. On the other side, Scribble is gonna go in with the Berg heal, potentially the Akroma, and maybe a healer support in this position. But it's gonna be a half heal, half damage, Miying back on the show.
I'm absolutely loving this draft from Scribble right now. There's a Gianna on the field, but there's 3 units on the field that Gianna pretty much does not like to fight. It's that Akroma, it's that Miying, it's that Burkelt. All of those 3 units super hard counter Gianna right there. ChrisPBacon is looking back at his comfortable unit with that Lydia. But can you find a 5th pick? Ooh, that is a strong 5th pick right there in that Sonya. But the big question is, what is going to be the ban and what is going to be that last pick from Scribble right now to deal with that Lydia or that Sonya that he's going to keep in the field?
For one moment right there, I think Scribble could ban Gianna and pick Miho, and I think that could have been a pretty legit pick to solo the entire team of ChrisPBacon.
That is actually a very fair statement, because none of these units would actually be having anything less than full crit rate. Issue, however, is you already have 3 counters on the field into that Gianna, so you kind of have to leave that Gianna in. In this case, first turn belongs to Scribble.
All right, here we go. Strip stun coming out from the he liked to call her Burger, and Burger did not do a single thing on that Ethna. Unfortunately, the nerf on a consistency showed right here on Scribble team, but he got a segment to make up for it.
Absolutely, but now all eyes once again are back on that Lydia. That Lydia might get a turn at a crucial moment. Was managing to stun that Sierra right there. Probably is not going to connect for that skill 3 right now, because that's just going to give a little bit more healing. You could do it for a little bit more AoE chip damage, but decides to just simply go for that skill 1. So once again, all eyes are on that Lydia. How much damage can you do?
Here we go, guys. Big damage from the Sonya and the Lydia. And I think that Ciara, regardless of how tanky she can be, is about to go down to the Lydia skill too. Big damage, a takedown.
That
Oh,
the counter of the being had to hit that Lydia, and that just simply take it out. But also from this point on, no matter what hits the Lydia, Lydia just kills it by the counter. So once again, this man just makes it work. I think he gets the title Lydia guy because he's the only one making it work, and it looks really good.
I can't believe it. Miying went in. He thought he was him. And he went in and died. Like the revenge damage died to the reflect damage. That is such a rare moment in this game that you just don't get to see. A two sort of off meta 85 killing one another using their passive. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
absolute cinema right there.
Absolutely. And that's also the interesting thing. Like I was mentioning it before, you have to kind of reset that Lydia. Her skill one is not as impactful. Sure, it can armor break, but it's not AoE damage. And the big difference is skill two is enemy max speed or enemy speed scaling. So you need a lot of crit rate, a lot of crit damage to make that work. And if your enemy is just rocking a lot of speed, as that Burkhild will do, then yeah, you just do a lot of damage to them. And I think it is a super hard counter against any of those Swift units because they're fast in general. You just rock in more and more damage. So definitely interesting to see and to once again see it work because it works amazing.
Dude, he makes me want to Lydia so bad right now because it looks so cool into these high damage turn one team because it's so prevalent nowadays. People are switching off CC a little bit because, hey, at the end of the day, everyone likes to do a bit more damage, everyone to end the game faster. So all these high damage team are very scared of Lydia's skill too that could potentially wipe them like how she just did right there. And I think Lydia doesn't need to contest room with any other unit that you might be building. She can be on like Nemesis Whale Blade and a bit slow but high crit damage. Like, who gonna use that? It's a perfect unit to have a very special build for a very fun game overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And you call it out very well because if you get a unit that needs a one other like 190 violent or 230 swift, those are hard to come by. But as you mentioned it, Will Blade Nem, you probably have those laying around. On a little bit of a slower set, you definitely have those laying around. As long as you keep all of the runes where you're not like, oh, no speed, let me sell that. Because you need those high bruiser runes that sometimes just has this one weird unit that's like, wait, this fits so perfectly well. And that is how ChrisPBacon actually got some good victories right here. And so far, people have been able to study his matches from previous weeks. They have been able to study his matches from today. But people haven't really figured out how to be the Lydia yet.
And it's kind of funny that Scribble flashed the Lydia for like 30 seconds just to get shit on by the Lydia in like 5 seconds.
Yep. That is kind of like insta karma right there. But it's also the Ming actually went for that insta karma as well. It's like, oh, I can hit you with my counter. It's like, no, that made me get killed. Never mind. No, that just didn't work out like I planned it.
All right, guys, we have the very last match coming up for today, but we have a bit of a small problem with a player reconnecting to the game. So it's going to happen very, very soon. So sit tight because we are about to witness, I think, the Bruiser King. And wait, who's the last one who hasn't played yet?
Josu.
Who's the last one, say?
We
Oh,
have Josu coming up.
the weird LD guy. Okay. And then we have the Bruiser King and the weird LD guy. That pick Lucifer, that pick Ongyoki, that pick Kovaci. So he's also one of those that do a lot of damage that can potentially we could have a two Bruiser match, but one big damage and one with big passive.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely what I think we're going to see. But also, I would say if the enemy is drafting a lot of passives, I'm not sure how much you're going to like your hackers because the hackers are not that great into passive units. And I'm mainly talking about Angela's, Junos, Veromos. It's like those things like debuffs for days. They don't care about them, even Raccoony. So a lot of these units would probably just cycle out of it. Even a Fire Monkey would probably just cycle out of it. So not sure if these units would do too good. But then again, he also has that Kovaci, and maybe he can get up with a Kovaci kind of snipe comp. Maybe if you go into a Kovaci plus a Federica or any other kind of single target snipes, I think it might take out like a unit or two. Or does he go back to the Onyuki? But then again, Onyuki with the Bruiser into Bruiser, I think you might lack a little bit of damage.
I think that's where the fire hacker came in because he can provide the AoE strip defense break to potentially insta kill 1 or 2 unit on the side of the enemy team with a Kovaci, or maybe it's gonna pick Lucifer, who knows? And that's gonna be a very interesting angle to see, because the fire hacker can allow you to like go in between. Either you want to go heavy control or you want to go heavy damage. He can facilitate both of that play style, and I think that's why he's getting a bit more popular on the ladder. And I personally love using that guy a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good unit. The only thing that is slightly bad about this kit is it's that 100 base speed. That 100 base speed, if you want to build it on Violent or Despair, it's always like, oh, now I struggle a little bit with my runes, because if you put those runes towards a Gojo, 106 base, it's so easy to rune. It's like, oh, I have a leftover set, and it still outspeeds my whole team, especially on like a 24 or a 33 lead. But that 100 base speed is kind of keeping him back. But I think if he had got a little bit more than that, it would be very strong as well. But once again, it's one of those best pairs that you have with Jongnam. And whereas we actually haven't seen that much Jongnam at all today, which I'm actually somewhat surprised about, because last week was pretty much all about Jongnam. Everywhere Jongnam. A lot of Olivers, a lot of Jongnams, but just simply didn't really show that much. Whereas this week it was actually a lot of Cigars. And until that last match where Scribble did get his victory over Cigar, we didn't see Cigar perform that well. But it's definitely interesting to see a little bit of a shift between day to day for just different metas. Plus, at some point within the league itself, we're going to have a full balance patch as well. And then it's going to be the big question. How fast can people adapt towards the new balance patch? Because even in higher ranks, most of the time it takes a little bit of time for people to actually rock in, like, okay, what works on current balance, what doesn't work. But for now, we're actually going to look at the current bracket. So these are all of the matches that we had so far. We started off with a lot of 1-1s, then we had a lot of 2-0s, and now we're actually back at a lot of 1-1. So if you want to complete the pattern, it's going to be the final match of 1-1. However, that's not written in stone yet, and we would like to see someone actually win then lose. So I think we're going to go into the leaderboards in a second, as well, as we're still trying to reconnect with the missing player at the moment, so we can see until now what all of the standings are at this moment.
So I think with this prediction, is either we're gonna get a 1-1, or if one of the player doesn't connect with the organizer, I think we have to give the 2-0 to Josu, potentially. But
hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. We want to see like the last ending match ending with a bang. But before that, we're gonna take a look at the leaderboard to see who is leading right now with all these new matches being calculated. Oh, look at that.
Very interesting to see. We still have a bunch of players that didn't go all the way for playing as many matches as some others. So the leaderboards are maybe a little bit shifted, because a lot of the names that you see all the way at the bottom are the ones that didn't play today. So they only have one set of matches under their belts, only 3 matches, compared to some of the other players playing 6. But we see Josu, which actually has to play in the next match, still has a good potential of climbing. And as mentioned before, a lot of the points are pretty close to one another, but TeqTeq, with all of the draws that he's having 4 draws. He's actually leading right now.
And TeqTeq is the only person so far, except for Pink Roy, who will be playing next week, who hasn't lost yet. I mean, who hasn't lost like a 2-0, right? He has many draws, but he also got many wins under his belt. That's why his points is higher than people like Scribble or ChrisPBacon, who happen to get 2-0 by some other player. And I think that is the gap right there.
Yep, absolutely. So from those other players that we see that are going to be playing next week, because then it's going to be a match once again, or like a change of players once again, and we're going to have the other players match once more. But it's definitely interesting to see TeqTeq can also not be overtaken, even if Joselino would play a 2-0 right now. TeqTeq would still be ahead by, I think, 2 points or just 1 point. But that's definitely a good lead that TeqTeq is rocking in right there. And that is not one of those players, if we saw the first list of all of the players, that we would be like, okay, he's going to be high up. So that definitely does show that in a best of 2 with pre-bet, it might be very different than just your ranking on the leaderboards that you normally see.
And also, being a low rank right now doesn't mean that you'll be low rank forever. There's always a chance for you to come back, because the league is, I think, for a total of 7 weeks in a row, which means there are more weeks ahead for you to potentially climb back. And also, there are more weeks ahead for people like TeqTeq to like suddenly have a bad week, right? Suddenly he lose to all the people. I'm sorry, TeqTeq. I did not mean to say that. But you could have a bad week and then suddenly, oh, my ranking on the leaderboard is not changing that much and I'm actually dropping. So it's RTA. You never know what's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. But also, if you see the highest ranked player right now is 8 points out of potential 12. So if you are currently sitting at 4 points and you win all of your matches in the next week, you climb 6. That's a lot of points to climb instantly. So even the players that are way lower right now, if you start winning against those players high up, you might take a lot of those points. And I think it's still like we're still early in the league. It's just the 3rd week. There's 7 more weeks, or there's 4 more weeks to go after this. In total 7. But yeah, a lot of things might still change. But I think it's also cool to see where there's not just one player. It's like, oh, we have one player at like 11 or 12 points, and then a few players at like 2 or 1 points. No, it's actually kind of spread out in between the middle.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, we could not contact Joselino. He might have some emergency. So Josu will win by default. Josu will get a 2-0 to really improve his ranking in the leaderboard right there. A free 2-0 win for Josu. But we would love to see Joselino come back and fight all his other matches in the upcoming weeks. But congratulations to Josu. He just got a 2-0 win.
And I definitely do think that Josu was one of those players that actually needed the 2-0 the most from the leaderboards that we just saw. And I think we will see in just a second once again, because he was actually the only player that was sitting between the players that didn't play today. So that means he was the lowest of the bracket of today. So I think we have a very well-balanced, rounded thing right now. And where he was actually the lowest back on that, sitting at 4 points, he's now suddenly being ranked 3. So that's where just a jump of a 2-0 might actually do it. That's interesting to see. Once again, we're still pretty early in the league days. It's also where you can see right now that all of the 6 players that played today, so all of the 6 players that got 6 matches under their belt, did play more or just got higher points in the end than the other players. But all of the points are pretty close to one another, with like 5 to 6 and one player being at 8.
And then next week, we'll have the other players who you saw on the leaderboard just now will be playing in the upcoming weeks. And you'll get to see people like Pink Roy once again to see what he's going to be cooking for us. But now, before you leave, there's going to be a beautiful code down here for you guys. So type in EU League Go for 100,000 mana and a 2 mystical scroll. That could be your Jongnam. I saw someone called Oliver in my chat. So, hey, it could be you watching at home on your TV right now. Key in the code, take out your phone, and get a new Nat 5.
It's the luck of the try. Or you could even do one better. Like, let's say you get a dupe, and then you get 3 LD scrolls, and you get an LD5. You never know. It can happen. Probably not, but it could always happen. It's the luck of the try.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. I had another fun time casting with Say Shizzle, and I think we're back to Sam next week. So, Say, it's been a fun ride, buddy, and I'll see you guys on the other stream.
Yep, absolutely. And Sean B, I want to thank you as well. It was absolutely a blessing to cast with you. And I do want to shout out, it is in the middle of the night for Sean B right now. So he's killing his sleep to be here with us for our entertainment. And I want to give a huge shout out for Sean B being here. And also for all of you guys watching, and definitely watch next week once again. You know where to find us. See you there.